Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on your time zone. Welcome to Sisel's Doctor's Clinic. The host, DW. DW, take it away.
Rob Cohan, we appreciate that. This is Daniel Whited coming at you live from Denver, Colorado, DW, some would say, and we just want to welcome you tonight to the Doctor Clinic.
Back to you.
You betcha. And I want to welcome you all to the Doctor's Clinic call. We got Dr. Kurt Fisnick in the house, and he's going to make some house calls tonight and come right live to you, to where his waiting room is the world. Dr. Kurt Fisnick, welcome to the call, my friend. Are you ready for some house calls?
Oh, man, I'm ready. How about you, DW?
I'm on it, big guy. Missed you last week. Would not get a reception where I was at. You and Miss Helen and Rob, you guys had a blast, and what you do is fantastic, and we just appreciate it. So what's our topic? What do you want to just, bring to people tonight?
Well, DW, last week we had some great testimonials. I don't know if you were able to get back on the recording and listen to it. And really, I thought it went so well. I had some people sitting on the sidelines waiting to share their stories, and so I invited them back this week, and I really think that we should go with the same format.
Well, I agree. It's one thing where we go and we teach and we train and we talk and we expose, but results is where it's at, Doc. And results, though often harsh, are always fair. Well, here's what's happening with Sisel. When we get people on Tom's products, which they have the Sisel seal on them, which means there's going to be no compromising ingredients in it. There's going to be no contaminants in it, no hazard materials in it, nothing that's going to have any toxins in it. And that's not a slogan. Sisel Safe is not a slogan. It's a promise. Well, what's happening, because the products are the purity's in the ingredients, the power is there in the product, and the potency is there. We're getting results, Doc. The results that I got on the field, I just can't wait to share with you and give you a call later. But the results we're getting out in the field with these products are crazy. So I'm going to flip it to you, my friend, and let's just get right into it.
Well, DW, the first thing that I really want to say is that whenever you get on a call like this, when we're talking about natural products, the first thing that I needed to say is that the results that people are having, we can't just say that everybody's going to have the exact same results. And that's one of the reasons that the FDA has really come down hard on nutritional companies, because people go out and make promises, and they make promises of cures and treats and things like that, and we can't do that. And that's mainly because not everybody's going to respond, because not everybody has the exact same lifestyle. Not everybody's had the same things happen. And so as you listen to the testimonials tonight, just imagine, what if you only had half the results that these people are having? What if you only had 25% of the results that these people are having? That's huge. It's a huge thing to have happen. And so I try and share that with people, is that we can't make any claims of cures or treats or anything like that. But the results that you're going to hear tonight, the testimonials, crazy. So first thing that I'd like to do, Sarah Coley down there in Texas, would you jump on the call? Just hit *6 on your phone and jump on the call. And let me just ask you a few questions and get right into your story, what you've seen happen.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Well, Sarah, thanks for getting on the call. And, boy, I remember meeting you 3 years ago or so when you shared your story with me the first time, and I thought, holy Toledo. Can you believe it? And then I started hearing stories just like yours, and last week we had a gal on that had a similar story, similar results. I don't know if she was using the same products that you are. But, Sarah, give us a little bit of history. What were you diagnosed with, and how long ago?
Oh, wow. It's been January the 7th of this year. I'm 9 years with stage 3B breast cancer. So that's just one before stage 4. And I was an anomaly. There was no history of cancer in my family of any kind, much less breast cancer. My lifestyle was not such that would put me in a risk category for breast cancer. I had gotten a lump detected when I turned 40 and had a lumpectomy, it came back 0 cancer. In other words, there was a tumor growth, but there were no cancer cells. So they were monitoring me very closely. I was getting mammograms every 6 months, blood work, all that kind of stuff for 5 years, and they completely missed it. And I didn't have just one type of breast cancer. I had 3, and they didn't know what to do with me. I was what was called a triple negative. In other words, it wasn't hormone-driven. It wasn't driven by estrogen, progesterone, or HER2 protein. It wasn't there. And they had no clinical studies, no guidelines to go by as to how to treat me. So they consulted with oncologists all over the country and decided on a protocol. The first mode of business they needed to do was to cut it out because it was aggressive. It had gotten into my lymph nodes and was metastasizing. I had the first type that I had was ductal carcinoma in situ, DCIS, which is where most women's breast cancer starts, which is in the duct cell. And it usually stays there, and it becomes a tumor, and they can, do lumpectomies, radiation, whatever, and get it out. That's their, mode of operandi to deal with that. But mine had spread. I also had something called Paget's disease, which is a centralized type of cancer that only develops in the nipple on the breast. So that was the second type. And then, of course, it was an aggressive form that was in all the other tissue and had gone into the lymph system. So that's where I started with my journey.
Wow. I mean, when you got diagnosed, I mean, your family, even your doctor had to just be going, I mean, this isn't good.
No. My mother-in-law is a registered nurse, has been for 45 years, and she turned pretty ashen white. I mean, they really wanted me to get aggressive with this. The type of chemotherapy they wanted to put me on was deemed for aggressive breast cancer. I mean, they really didn't think I had much of a chance because of how it had started to spread. And I wasn't real keen on having anything other than them cutting it out. Yeah, cut out, the affected tissue, that's fine, but I really did not want to go through chemotherapy or anything like that because I knew how damaging it was to the body, to the system. I ended up succumbing to the pressure from my husband. I mean, I had, 4 small children at home. It's kind of like, we got to do the best that we can. And my oncologist was like, look, if you were my mom, if you were my wife, you were whatever, I would suggest that you do this. So from the pressure, I went ahead and started the chemotherapy after I had my mastectomies done.
Right. Who wouldn't at that point, right?
Yeah. I mean, I really didn't want to do it, but I did. Unfortunately, their therapy didn't work. After my 3rd round of chemotherapy, my liver began to shut down. The type of intravenous chemo they were putting me on, besides the oral they were putting me on, they told me would damage my heart. They put a portacap in and threaded it into my heart to intravenously put this medicine that had only been out for about 5 years at that time to treat the breast cancer. And so
wow.
What's the outcome? It's like you're going to live, but the quality of life you're going to have, we don't know what it's going to be, and we can't really guarantee the outcome, but this is the best we've got. So when my liver started shutting down, and I had just taken a dose of the oral chemotherapy that I was supposed to take. You take for like 3 weeks on, you go off for a week, and you know how the rotation goes. I sat there, and after I took it, I couldn't form a sentence. I couldn't speak. And my daughter, my oldest daughter at the time, I think she was 15, started freaking out, called my husband on the phone, and that was it. I was like, I'm done. I'm completely done. I didn't lose my hair, but I started losing my fingernails. My skin started to change. I started getting vitiligo. I became allergic to everything and anything around me. Antibiotics didn't work on me anymore. Pain medicine, nothing. I mean, it's just my system just went whack.
Right. So, well, Sarah, I think, everybody's got a good picture, in their mind of how bad things really were. I mean, in our mind, we're just going, holy cow, you're lucky to even be here. So let's fast forward just a little bit. And you got introduced to Sisel, and kind of give us a little, just the history on what's happened since you got introduced to Sisel, what products you're taking, and the kind of results that you've seen.
Well, when I first got introduced to Sisel, I think I was probably like a lot of people that I had heard how well the products were put together, the non-toxic, the this, that, the other, and after going through what I had gone through, I was a bit skeptical. But what did I have to lose? I had just had my last surgery. I had gone through from the time I got diagnosed in 2007 until 2012 when I found Sisel. I'd already had 13 surgeries. Okay, I won't go into all the graphics of that, but I was going through hell trying to recover from the damage from the treatment. Trying to save me, I think, was worse than the cancer itself in a lot of ways. So
right.
I spoke with Ray Hutchinson, and I called Ray. He didn't call me. Someone had introduced me to the call, to the Wake Up with Dan call, Wake Up with Sisel call, however you want to call it. And I listened to several calls and listened to the stories and got intrigued. And I heard Ray's story. And I was like, he resonated with me because he sounded real. He talked about him being in a dark place and how finding Sisel and getting on the products I had brought him back. And I was like, so I called him. And we had a long conversation. And he goes, look, what have you got to lose? I'm like, you're right. What have I got to lose? So I got on the Triangle of Life. I got on the Eternity for Poison, the Spectramax, and Sizzling is what I put on because the way we talked, I decided that the best thing that I could do was rebuild myself from the inside out, boost my immune system, get my strength back up, and go from there. And that's where I started. And I stayed on those products probably for 6 months. And what was so wonderful about it is, I felt good almost immediately taking the product. I could tell a difference. I could tell a difference in my sleep pattern. I could tell a difference in my energy. I could tell a difference in just, the day-to-day, the things that we take for granted a lot of times. And then when I went back for a checkup, I was about 3 months in, and my blood work started coming back with my numbers going down, with my enzymes regulating for my liver, with just all those types of things going on. I was like, man, have I found something? Oh my gosh, this stuff's amazing.
Right. It had to almost feel like somebody just brought God back down to you and said, here you go.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. How else can you put it? It's the best thing that has ever happened to me, and I don't mind sharing it with anybody. And it's like you said, everybody's conditions are different. And the girl last week, I think her name was Rachel, if I remember right, that had found the stage 1, which is where you want to catch it. And her getting on the products, her body took over, was getting the nutrition it needed, the still signal regulators, and boom, she doesn't have any problems. Same here. I'm free. All my enzymes are good. So after being on that for about 6 months or so, I decided, I want to take it another level. It's like I told Ray, I said, I want to get my fighting weight back, Ray. I want to lose this excess weight that I've got, because I really think with the Sisel products I can do that. That's still a goal of mine, by the way. I'm an emotional eater, so hey.
Yeah.
Hey, I feel good in my body. What can I say?
I'll tell you this, Sarah. This is one thing that I try and tell people is think about it like this. If we live on a narrow street in the city and you're going to work in the morning and all of a sudden there's a fire at the other end of the street, everybody's taught you pull your car over to the side, you pull up on the curb and let the fire trucks and the emergency personnel go down the street. Well, and you sit there and you wait. Well, what if the fire never goes out? What if the fire trucks and emergency personnel never quit coming, and all of a sudden you're sitting there for days and days and months, and you're just sitting there and sitting there? Well, that's what happens with your body. When you have an emergency thing going on inside your body where you need to have some healing happening, what happens is your body shuts down everything that's not necessary for healing that up. And that's what happened in your body. So the weight loss will come, but it might take a while. And it's because your body has to heal up the other stuff. And it'll come. It'll come. It comes with time. And your body's healing. It's going through some crazy changes inside. And if we could see that, it would blow you away.
I agree.
It would blow you away. And Sarah, energy-wise, feeling-wise, that brain function that you lost when you're on the chemo, where are you at?
Oh, I'm great. There is no brain fog. I wouldn't say I'm 100% because I used to be an air traffic controller. My brain was really good back then. But now, no, I don't have the brain fog. I sleep well. I wake up rested. I don't wake up with, feeling like I have to have somebody help me out of the bed or help me up the stairs or anything like that. I mean, I have a 5-year-old that I'm raising, my granddaughter. I can play with her. I can go all day. I get probably an average of maybe 5-6 hours of sleep a night, and I go all day. It's great. And adding in the Sisel coffee, I mean, I take other things now, that we've come out with it, but the triangle is my staple. The triangle and the Siseline is my staple for every day. And
right.
I can tell when I skip a day here or there, because life takes over. You get hectic. You miss something here or there. I know I was talking with Ray recently. I went on a trip and forgot to pack my Sisel products, like 3 or 4 days. And by the 5th, 6th day, man, I'm telling you, my reserves were gone. I was like, oh, my gosh, can I get somebody to send me something? So I called Ray up. He sent me some over, He hooked me up.
Well, Sarah, what you're saying is exactly what we're hearing from lots and lots of people is that, here's something that changed your life. It improved your body's function. And really what we can say is this, is that we really can say to people is that it makes it so your body has a chance. It has a chance to heal itself up, and that's really all you want. And like I try and tell people is, hey, it worked for me, it might work for you. And
absolutely.
So Sarah,
gosh, Doc, they weren't giving me 2 years, And
how
then
long
when 5 came around, I'm going into my 10th year,
10 years. And they gave you 2.
My results are good. They gave me 2. My results are good.
For your next car, you better get the lifetime warranty on the new battery.
No doubt. I mean, the echocardiograms are coming back. There's no heart damage that they were expecting. The flows are different from the damage that was caused, and now it's all improved. Like I said, we can't say anything's cured me or I'm 100%, but everything's improved. My liver functions back to normal. My kidney functions back to normal. All the other indicators are normal. My cholesterol, everything. All my blood work are coming back good. The MRIs and the PET scans and everything that I take, there's no precursors for cancer anywhere in my body. So, the way I feel right now, I believe, Tom, I'm going to keep taking these. The next thing I want to go on is the TSX. I want to go on a regimented dose of at least 3 at my age, at least 3 to maintain where I'm at. And I believe my biological clock will continue to turn back because the damage that happens from chemo is it biologically ages you severely. They told me that my biological age was 25 years beyond my chronological age. So I was at the end of it all. That's why they only gave me 2 years. And people don't understand how damaging chemo is. 97% of people do not, respond to the cancer treatment.
That's right.
I think more of them die from the treatment than they do the actual cancer. Not to say that cancer doesn't kill, but I think there's better choices out there.
Yeah, we got to be a little careful on what we say there. Just because, that's the whole thing is that when we're talking about natural products, we can't say cure, treat. No. And so, that's where we really got to be careful. But, Sarah, I'll tell you what. Based on everything you told me,
think about that, Doc. Integrate it. I would never tell anybody not to have chemotherapy. I took it. But with the products and the supplements that we have, they complement so well. Do everything that you possibly can. It's like with DW's story, if people haven't heard his, He told the doctors, you do everything you're going to do. I'm going to do everything I'm going to do, and then we're going to give the rest of it to God. He's going to take care of all of it anyway, whatever the outcome is. We're in this together.
That's right. Well, and the whole thing, Sarah, I'm gonna use a real quality medical term here. You're a freak of medicine. You shouldn't have survived. Isn't that a good medical term? You're a freak of medicine.
I love it. I've always been a freak. I'll continue to be one. That's fine.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. I mean, like I said, when I heard it 3 years ago, I thought, we got to get people out there knowing what can happen. And again, I just really want to say we can't say cure, we can't say treat. This is one person's story that you've heard. But if it worked for Sarah, what if it worked for you? What if you had the same results? And that's really what we got to say. Sarah, thanks for getting on. I'm going to bring my Bill DeFalco. If you could hit *6 and come on the call. A lot of people have read your story on Facebook. They've heard your story and that. But what an amazing story! You're another freak. I mean, you shouldn't be here. And I know that you guys are probably laughing at my quality medical terms there, but it really is crazy when you start hearing stories like that. Bill, are you there?
Hey, Doc. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Bill, same question to start out. Tell us a little bit about the history. Where did you come from before you came to Sisel as far as like medical history? What was going on with you?
Doc, I couldn't agree. I could not agree with you more. I shouldn't be here right now. I should have died 6 years ago, because if you go back and look at my medical history, first of all, I come from a family with a history of heart disease, and in my case, my issue came to the forefront when I was 25 years old. I'm going back to 1976. Okay, and I was attending a college, working on a second college degree. I already completed a degree in pre-medical studies. Decided I wasn't going to go into dentistry like my dad, but I liked the medical industry and the electronics involved with it. So I was working on a second degree in electronics, which really opened up a fabulous career for me. Coming to college one day, and there's all these cots set up, like, what's going on? Oh, the New York Blood Center's here, we're having a blood drive. But, Doc, at that time I was 5'6", same height I am today, and I was about 146 pounds, about 158 right now, okay? You put on a few pounds with age, but at any rate, so from the outside, I looked like the picture of health. There wasn't an ounce of fat on me. And when I saw my friends donating blood, I didn't want to feel left out. I went ahead and donated blood, no big deal. But 2 days later, I get this urgent letter in the mail from the New York Blood Center, and I open it, and it says, you need to contact us immediately. We tested your blood. Your cholesterol's 500. Your triglycerides, 1,200. 1,200 on the triglycerides. That's 1,000 above the red line. In fact, both of those levels should never go over 200. Here I am, 500 on cholesterol, 1,200 on triglycerides. They invited me to participate in a program at Rockefeller University in New York City, which involved diet modification and exercise to get those levels down. And it worked pretty well, but I could never get the levels down to where they really needed to be. I couldn't get the cholesterol down below 250, 260. Triglycerides were always hovering up like in the high 390s. Eventually, I had to go on medication, something I did not want to do. I can relate to everything that Sarah just said in terms of what, the prescription medication is doing to people. I mean, a lot of folks don't know this, but, there's 40,000 people dying every year in this country, here in the U.S. every year in car accidents. And that's pretty shocking. But when you come to find out that over 100,000 people are dying every year just here in the U.S. alone, taking prescription medication as prescribed by their doctors. That doesn't count the people who take drugs illegally. I'm talking about people who are taking prescription medication as prescribed. It's killing over 100,000 people a year in this country. It's pretty shocking.
And that's the one
they
claim. Yeah.
And being a student of the of the human body, studying medicine and studying from my perspective, what I learned was that I needed to avoid medications as much as possible, because everything comes with a side effect. Every time you see a drug commercial on TV, the whole second half of the commercial is some guy talking a mile a minute, even faster than I can talk, and he's rattling off all the side effects, And when you start listening to the side effects, you say, do I really want to put that stuff in my body? So when I realized that I had to go on prescription medication, I began a 32-year-long search for a natural alternative. And over that 32 years, Doc, I tried just about everything under the sun nutritionally. I mean, everything I can get my hand on. I was in dozens of other networking companies. Everybody making a big promise that they've got the God's answer to nutrition. But it was all a big farce, Doc. None of it worked. As verified by my medical blood test that I was required to take every 4 months, 3 times a year while I was on the medication, just to make sure that it wasn't causing any collateral damage to the liver, but they would check like 43 different parameters. And so, over this 32-year period, I'm looking for the magic bullet. I followed the studies of Dr. David Sinclair in the 1980s, who came to the United States from Australia, started studying at MIT. His papers that he was publishing at that time, and by the way, he was studying longevity. He's a geneticist. His publications caught the attention of the folks at Harvard Medical School. They invited him over, and while he was there, they offered him a building on their campus to set up his laboratory. And he took them up on the offer. That's now known as the Sinclair Lab. Dr. Sinclair is now a full professor at Harvard Medical School. He's a professor of genetics. But the groundbreaking landmark studies and findings he made on resveratrol caught my attention, and I figured that's got to be it. That's the magic bullet. So I started taking resveratrol supplements. Every one I can get my hand on, only to be disappointed to find out when I got my medical blood test back that I didn't see any change or improvement in my cholesterol and triglyceride levels. I mean, I tried everything, Doc. All the magical juices, I don't need to name them. We've heard them all, okay? And, I mean, you name all the big nutritional companies, and I tried all of their products. And nothing was working, nothing. And I started to become very skeptical and wondering if all this stuff really had any, merit to it, which I came to find out over time it did not. And just when I was ready to throw in the towel, Doc, let me take you to May of 2009. At that point, I was being discharged from the hospital after having had my 4th coronary angioplasty over a 12-year period and receiving my 6th stent. And I'm getting dressed and getting ready to be discharged, and the nurse pulls the curtain back in between the 2 beds, and my roommate and I introduce ourselves, and I was 58 at the time, and he's 68. And I said to him, I just got my 6th stent. He says to me, I just got my 16th stent. And I just, I was floored. I couldn't believe when I heard that. I walked out of there, realizing that over the 12 years leading up to that point, I had been coming back on a steadily increasing frequency to get more and more angioplasties and more stents put into my heart. And, when I walked out of the hospital, I said, based on that, I should be back here in another 6 months to a year, the way I was going. And I was going downhill fast. I walked out of the hospital, and that's about all I could do, Doc, at that time. May of 2009 was walk about 2 miles an hour. That's the only physical activity I could do. Anything above that, I get angina, tightness in my chest. I was like a useless human being. Couldn't shovel the snow in the winter, couldn't rake the leaves in the summer, couldn't do any kind of housework that involved any kind of activity. I was a wreck. And I was the Titanic, taking on water and sinking fast. 3 months later, in August of 2009, I had the great fortune of discovering this incredible company. And when I learned about a brand new product they had just rolled out at the time, but when I talk about perfect timing, that's when Sisel introduced Eternity and Essential Eternity, the most incredible resveratrol supplements. After 4 years of taking resveratrol supplements and not seeing any results, when I learned about how Sisel stopped by buying every supplement on the market, every resveratrol supplement, and testing them, only to find out something shocking. By the time these supplements got to the end consumer, over 98% of the potency was lost due to oxidation. Because when you crush the grape and release the resveratrol from the inside from the protective environment inside the grape, it becomes highly chemically unstable, and it starts rapidly oxidizing and breaking down. Right. And as it turns out, making that into a viable, effective supplement that maintains its potency is a major, major technological challenge. And Sisel was able to overcome that with a patented resveratrol delivery system that maintains the potency that's otherwise completely lost, virtually completely lost in all other supplements. Well, I was sold on that. I said, I've got to try it. And I got on it immediately, and after just 6 weeks on the original product, which was a half-ounce dose in the 500-milliliter bottles, after just 6 weeks, Doc, I'm feeling great, by the way, the whole time. And I'm just kind of mentally calming myself down and saying, don't get over excited. It could just be placebo effect, which is very powerful. But I was feeling great, and it was time for me to go for one of my scheduled blood tests. And after 6 weeks on this product, when the blood test results came back, my doctor was stunned. He's like, what in the world did you do? We just got the best blood test result in your entire medical history. I went all the way back to when you were 25 and your cholesterol was first tested, your triglycerides were first tested, when they were severely elevated. He says, and over the years, the best we could do, even with medication, was 220 on the cholesterol and 330 on the triglycerides. He opens up the blood test report and says to me, or asks me, how did you get them both under 200? These are the lowest levels ever recorded in your medical history. I said to him, Doc, have you ever heard of resveratrol? He said, yes, I have. I said, well, I didn't want to tell you this. I've been taking resveratrol supplements for the last 4 years. This is the same doctor. I was under his care for 22 years at the time. Never saw the gentleman smile. Never. This man was always so serious. But that day he walked into the office with my blood test results under his arm. He had the biggest smile on his face, ear to ear. I couldn't believe it. I almost fell off my chair, and I knew I was in for some great news when he said to me, have I got some incredible news for you? And that's what Sisel is all about. It's about, yet, folks, we've got some incredible news for you. We have a company here that's manufacturing the most incredible supplements. It's literally redefining the standards for what all nutritional products will hope to follow. We're talking about products that deliver results that have never before been available from any other nutritional supplements. I got 0 results on all those resveratrol supplements. And here, the blood test result was so perfect, my doctor was skeptical. He almost didn't believe it. He said, look at this. Not only do you have the lowest cholesterol and triglycerides, but there's 43 parameters here. You know, everything from albumin to this to that. You know, they test everything in the body. And he said, you see, everyone has a low number and a high number. You're supposed to be somewhere in between. He says, and it's not unusual, even for a healthy person, to be a little bit outside the low range on one parameter, a little bit above the other one. He said, but I could take a ruler and draw a line right down the middle. You're right down the middle on all 43 parameters. It's like I've never seen a blood test. Your blood chemistry is perfect. I've never seen a blood test result that looks like this. This is like the ideal test you would aim for, but I've never seen anyone do it. He says, it's so perfect. I'm almost tending not to believe it. He said, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. Let's see what it looks like 4 months later. So when I saw how good the eternity was, I got on the fucoid because I was right up there at the top, Doc, with my PSA score, 3.9. You know, if your PSA score for men is above 4.0, you know what that means, Doc, right? That means a biopsy, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, when I saw how good the eternity worked, let me try the fucoid. So now I'm taking the eternity in the morning, just one shot, and the fucoid and one shot at night before I go to bed. I come back 4 months later, and the doctor said to me, I got good news and better news. He goes, the good news is that this is an identical blood test to the one you just completed 4 months ago. All the levels are identically the same. He says, I'm starting to believe this, but I got even more exciting news. And the PSA score, they only check once a year, so they didn't check it on the previous test, but it happened to come up for that time. It was due for a check, and he said to me, your PSA score plummeted. It went from 3.9 all the way down to 1.9. Are you taking another product from this company? I says, yes, I'm taking the fucoid product. Then he was just blown away. One more blood test after that, I came to the realization that, you know what, I found the magic bullet. I'm ready to get off medication. I told my doctor I was ready to get off, and he had a conference with my cardiologist. And wanting to be on the safe side, not, you know, make any drastic moves, they decided they were going to wean me off the medication over a 12-month period. That ended in August of 2011, Doc. I was off all the medication, and I was, instead of being restricted to, you know, not being able to walk any more than 2 miles an hour, I'm on a treadmill running 10 miles an hour. In fact, my cardiologist said, when the 12-month period went by and I was down to 0 on the meds, she said, I just want you to go on a stress test, and if you could go up 5 miles an hour, because she knew I couldn't do more than 2 to 2.5. She said, if you could do 5 miles an hour without any discomfort and you got a good EKG, I'll release you off the medication. I go for the test, and then within a couple of minutes, you know, the technologist, the doctor actually, it was a cardiologist who administered the test. He says, you're done. I said, what do you mean I'm done? He goes, look, you're doing 5 miles an hour with no problem. I said, you can understand. I'm just getting warmed up over here. I want to feel my new upper limit of this now. So he said, all right, we'll take it 1 mile an hour at a time. He told me to stop running, Doc, when I hit 12 miles an hour, because that's the end of the test, before something breaks over here. So my cardiologist saw the results. She was flabbergasted. She said, I've never seen anyone make a recovery like you did from heart disease. As far as I'm concerned, you were off the medication and bang. I mean, a whole new person. Unbelievable, Doc. I mean, these products have transformed my life. They've given me back my life. I mean, I'm looking forward to, you know, being healthy into my 90s, you know, being a great-grandfather someday, a grandfather, a great-grandfather. I mean, I'm looking forward to things I never would believe could happen when you grow up in a family where the men all died in their 60s. In fact, my father was the only one of his 4 brothers who lived past the age of 60. All my uncles, all his other brothers dropped dead on the streets of Brooklyn from massive heart attacks. I just happened to be fortunate to be Johnny on the spot way back when I saw my father having his first heart attack, and I recognized the symptoms of it, and I gave him aspirin immediately and took him to the hospital. People didn't know about that back then, Doc. It took over 30 years after that. I mean, it was well known in the medical community. If you administer aspirin at the onset of a heart attack, you could save a person's life and prevent serious heart damage. I happen to know that because I was a medical student and whatnot. Right. But what the first thing that came to my mind, it was like such an obvious thing within the medical community. I'm like, when are they going to get the word out to the rest of the people out there? 30 years after that, Doc, the American Medical Association allowed their aspirin to go on TV and do infomercials to educate people about the importance of administering aspirin at the first sign of a heart attack. 30 years later, I think we're in the same boat right now, Doc. I think 30 years from now, they're going to be saying, oh, you should be taking resveratrol supplements. You should be taking fucoidan to help your body, fight off cancer and fight off heart disease. It's going to take another. I mean, they're just so slow to adopt the things that are overwhelmingly, abundantly, clear due to factual information. Look at the French people, the French paradox. They got the greatest heart health in the world, along with the fattiest diets. Dr. Sinclair cracked the code on that one. It was the resveratrol that they consume. You look at the French culture years ago, the water was so bad in France, we drank wine over there like we drink water over here. They start children on it. And what did Dr. Sinclair find out? It coats the arteries. It lubricates the arteries. It facilitates the movement of cellular waste material that would otherwise be sticking to the walls of the arteries and causing coronary artery disease. Not for the French. They drink so much wine. They're little children. They drink a little glass, but they get that coating effect. So they don't get that adhesion of the cellular waste material to the walls of the arteries, and so they can, they can basically eat whatever they want because their arteries are clean and lubricated. And they carry all the waste to the liver, and it's passed out of the body, and they got great cardiac health. But you have people like you and I who haven't had the advantage of being, fed wine since we were like 2 years old. Our arterial system's all plugged up and jammed up. What do you do? Well, Dr. Sinclair found out if you administer high doses of resveratrol, you can actually reverse coronary artery disease. And Barbara Walters asked him on 2020, you can go on YouTube and find this, how much wine would a person have to drink in order to take in the same amount that you gave to the laboratory animals that reversed their heart disease? And he said a human would have to drink about 250 glasses of red wine a day. Well, thank God that Tom Maurer and Sisel International created Eternity and Essential Eternity, where 1 3/4 ounce serving gives you the net equivalent resveratrol found in over 400 glasses of red wine. And I think it's more like 425, way over the 250 that Dr. Sinclair said that you needed. So we're not only getting the volume, the amount of resveratrol in a single serving, which, by the way, is best taken first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, which I do every day, okay? We're not only getting the amount, but we're getting it in a highly potent state that's just not available in any other supplement. And I'll wind up this by a saying that I've adopted, and I tell everyone, folks, you have not experienced the amazing, remarkable, incredible health benefits of resveratrol until you try Eternity from Sisel International, the only effective resveratrol supplement on the market. And on that note, Doc, I'm going to turn it back over to you if you have any other questions.
Well, Bill, we're just past the time. I'm going to get you back on here later on and share some more, kind of talk about where things are going, where you've been, things like that, and where your life has turned. Just one quick question, if you don't mind sharing. How old are you now?
I'm 64, Doc. I'll be 65 this August.
65 years old, and you're running on a treadmill 5 miles an hour.
You kidding me? 5 miles is my warm up. I can go way beyond that. But I do my treadmill workout now 3 times a day. I have abundant amounts of energy. I mean, I'm like a powerhouse, Doc. I am an absolute powerhouse. Okay, I mean, there's like nothing can stop me. I'm like a steamroller. I'm loaded with energy. I will tell you that I did run into an incident right after Thanksgiving, and let me tell you what happened. So, I posted about this on the internet. I did have an incident, and let me tell you what happened, Doc. 14 months ago, I accepted a position, a full-time position in the X-ray industry, and from my post in the past, I actually retired from General Electric. I took an early retirement with them back in July of 2013. That was a very interesting story, Doc. What happened was I was one of the members of their national technical support team. I was a trainer and instructor for them. They would fly me to Texas on a regular basis, and I would teach classes to students, not only all over the U.S., but we had people coming in from Spain, from Argentina, students from all around the world, and I was loving the job. It was great, It was shirt-sleeve work, shirt and tie, and I'm an instructor and a teacher and whatnot. And then after 10 years of that, and, with all the changes in the corporate world, I was shocked to see what came down the pipeline, with the economy and what happened in big corporations. But starting in 2010, all new hires in General Electric from that year on out, they discontinued the pensions. There was no more pension plan. All you got was a 401k, and what you got with your stocks, so your mutual funds, that's what you got for retirement. Pension is a guaranteed amount of money they have to pay out, and that's a big financial burden for all these companies, and so they're getting away from it. And GE, one of the biggest companies in the world, discontinued pensions in 2010. I was lucky because I was grandfathered in, but in order to control costs, they started taking the most senior employees, the people up at the top of the pay range, and they started offering them early buyouts, early retirements. They would throw a nice chunk of money on the table and make an offer for you to retire early. Well, they approached 3 of us in the national support group. We were all about the same age, and Doc, I was the only one who was able to accept it because I had my additional income coming in from Sisel. I'll never forget my colleague said, we can't afford to retire right now. We can't afford to live on a reduced pension. I'm still paying off my mortgage. I got this expense. I can't afford to do it. So the 2 of them chickened out, and I signed on a dotted line, took the money and ran, and I was retired in July of 2013, okay? And I got a pension for life that my wife will continue to get after I'm gone, and it's a good package and whatnot. But what happened was my wife, being 9 years younger than me, she's still working. I got all this time on my side, and so I started doing some subcontracting, and then a company offered me a job to become an instructor with them. So I took them up on the offer. It was very good money, Doc. But next thing you know, they're sending me out on service calls. Oh, we just need some help, for now. And then we'll get to the training later on. Doc, 14 months went by. I never taught a class for them. I was working 12, 14, 16-hour days, insane hours, leaving early in the morning, coming home late at night. So with those hours, I couldn't do my 3 times a week treadmill anymore. Forget about the weekdays. And on the weekends, I'd sleep in. I was exhausted. I was knocked out. I was just totally knocked out. And then on top of that, I got into a really bad habit, Doc. I started drinking chocolate shakes from McDonald's and Burger King almost on a daily basis. I had no idea that those shakes are deadly for your heart health. 20 grams of fat, 12 grams of saturated fat compared to the 1 gram of unsaturated fat in our new chocolate sizzling shakes. And thank God for that, because I had to give up those shakes because I ran into a little issue, okay? I went 12 pounds over my target weight. And a guy who had heart disease, I can't afford to be overweight, but you know what? I was stretching it, Doc. I was stretching the envelope. I was feeling so good. I always felt I was invincible and could get away with anything. But as it turned out, after several months of not doing the treadmill, putting on 12 pounds, and drinking these fat-laden shakes, and, I was just going over the top. Came Thanksgiving, the Saturday after, I went to put on a pair of pants and realized they weren't fitting me anymore. I'm like, this is not good. I got to reverse this, and I decided to get on the treadmill and play catch-up in one day. I hadn't had a workout in 3 months, and I did this very intensive workout. I got off the treadmill, and first time I ever got off the treadmill, and I didn't feel good. I felt drained, and something was bothering me. I took a couple of aspirin, and that didn't relieve it. And I went upstairs, and I went to lay down, and I had like a tense feeling inside. It wasn't a pain. It was just like a tight feeling. And I had some old expired nitroglycerin tablets, expired back in 2012. I hadn't taken one since 2006. And I popped a few of those, and it made, it brought me all back to normal. Everything was fine. Well, my wife heard that. She says, you've got to go to the hospital and get checked out. I said, I'm fine. She says, listen, you have to go. I said, first I have to have my breakfast. My wife makes an incredibly delicious homemade granola. I had breakfast. I said, now I got to shower. I can't go to the hospital all sweaty from my workout. She said, all right, stand there, tapping the foot, I take a shower. Oh, now I got to have my coffee. Got to have my Sisel weight loss coffee every morning. So I made a cup of coffee, and then I got in the car, and she drove me to the hospital. And when they found out why I was there, tightness in the chest after a workout, they took me right in, drew some blood, and they told me that my troponin level was elevated. That's the enzyme that they measure, cardiac stress with. it was a very low number, like something like 1.5. And I asked him, what is a severe heart attack? He said, oh, like up like 80. So it wasn't very much elevated, but enough for them to admit me. And they decided they wanted to, they did an angiogram and they shoved another stent in there, but it was a wake-up call for me. And I came to realize, you know what? This job is killing me. I walked away from it, Doc. You know what? I walked away from it about 2 weeks ago, and I'm doing Sisel full-time. I'm building it like crazy, and I learned a lesson, Hey, I could make good money working for them, but I realized I got gold in my hands with this company. I pushed my cardiac limits. I mean, I stretched the envelope on what I should have done. And if it wasn't for my taking my Eternity and my other Sisel products every day, going through what I did to myself, I would have probably died from that instead of being so mild I didn't even know I was having a heart attack. You contrast that to the last heart attack I had, which is in 2006. That was 3 years before I got on the Sisel products. And that one was so severe, I called 911. And when the paramedics came to the house, I was laying on the floor in pain in the doorway. They had to carry me into the ambulance, okay? That was 3 years before Sisel, okay? I get on Sisel, I get off the medication, and then I just let myself go after 4 years of doing fabulous. I start, working too hard, eating stuff I shouldn't eat, not exercising, and it caught up to me. But you know what? I immediately got on those sizzling shakes. I dropped 12 pounds in less than 30 days. 30 days after this incident that I had, this minor heart attack, I went for a stress test. And the technicians couldn't believe I went the whole 12 minutes. The girl said to me, I never see anybody do the whole 12 minutes who had a heart attack, 30 days previous. She said, it never happens. Most of them are lucky if they make it halfway. She says, and I was watching my EKG and everything. She said to me, it's like you never had a, she says, your heart is strong. Your EKG is beautiful. It's like you've never had a heart attack. Well, how do you account for this? I started telling my Sisel story. They were out there with their pen and paper taking notes. What's the name of that product? Eternity? Okay, resveratrol. Yeah, go to the National Library of Medicine. Over 8,700 studies on resveratrol. And, I mean, they were taking notes left. I was just their star patient. So despite that little bump in the road for me, Doc, I made a fabulous recovery. I'm back on my treadmill working out. I mean, it's like nothing ever happened. I learned a very big lesson, and I proved to myself once again how incredible these products are, that I could stretch the envelope like that and get away with just a minor heart attack with otherwise something that probably would have been very serious and even fatal, and I'm not taking any more chances. The Sizzling Shake, I use that for meal replacement. That if you haven't tried the chocolate Sizzling Shake, you have no idea what you're missing out on. I mean, Tom Maurer and the minds at Sisel, they nailed it with the flavor. It's absolutely delicious, and nutritious, and it's a beautiful meal replacement. I lost 12 pounds in 30 days taking that, along with my weight loss coffee in the morning and having my weight loss iced tea, my fire and iced tea in the evening, an hour before my meals. I mean, everyone can't believe it. Wow, your stomach is flat, you look great, making a phenomenal recovery, and now more than ever, I want to take this. I have the passion to take this story to every person I know about how great these products are, how incredible this company is, and why everyone needs to bring Sisel into their lives.
You bet. Well, Bill, I appreciate you getting on the call and sharing it with us. And now everybody can take Bill's story. I mean, we've got it recorded. We've got it right here. All you have to do, everybody, is go on SiselDoctorsClinic.com. Bill's story is recorded right there. We've got the stories from last week. We got Sarah's unbelievable story on how she's a survivor as well. And Sarah and Bill, thanks for getting on and sharing your story. I'm going to hand the call back over to DW and let you close it out. And what a fantastic call. Thanks, everyone.
Well, absolutely awesome. And Dr. Kurt, we appreciate you. And Bill, fantastic job. And Sarah, awesome. And we love our Sisel buddies. It's just amazing what you got your hands on. Get with the person that invited you to hear this call and have a discussion about what Sisel products can best support you. And we've got several things that will help boost up your immune system. And when your immune system's been compromised and going through some of those challenges, we got some products that can make an impact there. The Fucoidan, the Triangle of Life, the Sisel Immune that we just launched not too long ago. Product called Body Shield and Influence, and then the Omega Plus with Coenzyme Q10, and a product that a lot of people aren't aware of that we have that helps strengthen the bottom of the heart is a product called Heartify. And so you're going to want to get your hands on some of these, something that feeds the muscles, which your heart is a muscle as well, is our sizzling products, and you get into some of those. So we don't have time to get into all that tonight, but thank you so much for taking the house call tonight and being part of the doctor's clinic. And you just have a fantastic week. We'll see you at the same place, same time next week. Rob, any announcements as we go?
Call will be posted in about 20 minutes.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. God bless everybody, and thanks for being part of the call.